tell you something that depresses me in infrastructure these days?
Sure.
Everybody has taken their eye off the most important ball. The most important ball is zero cost transactions and micropayments. And the only people that are working on that are like the layer two cryptocurrency people, and they all seem politically wrapped around the axle. So they're not actually going to get this thing done. Like Lightning Network has been around for what, 3 or 4 years, and yet we still have expensive payment systems. Like all of this stuff is moving at such a slow pace. And in the meantime, we have the best companies in the world that have high margin cash cows. And basically all they're focused on is like moderation and metaverse BS and like virtual reality this and mobile that and ad tech this and search engine stuff that. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, where's my zero cost micropayment system? Why can't I send 5 cents to a Nigerian knowledge worker? Like, why can't I do that yet? Why can I send an email to anybody? I can send a Slack message to lots of friends, and I can't send 12 cents or like, 3 Satoshis to somebody. What's going on? Why can't anybody build this stupid thing? It's really aggravating to me. Do you ever get aggravated about stuff like that? Like stuff that you don't really feel like you have a control over?
I definitely had to do some thinking on like the real. I'm not a big cryptocurrency person. I'm more of like a, social commentary, like thinking about systems, as I don't have a dog in the crypto race or anything. But like, I think what it exposes is just how like political the monetary system truly is. It's a tool of social policy. It's a tool of, foreign relations. So like, all these governments actually at the end of the day kind of like their currencies, and like just because you want to have like a decentralized PayPal, or some Patreon with no minimums, and like the idea of like money is just information, and if information is basically free, why isn't money free? Well, it turns out there are some key differences between money and information, and like it took rock bottom. It took Facebook being like, well, we could do this, and then every government in the world being like, oh no, you don't, right? Because like there are political forces in the world that undergird and supplement and occasionally are in direct competition with the technological and economic forces in the world. And it turns out money is politics too. So the reason that none of the top tier companies are fighting for this, zero cost 5 cent payments to Nigeria or whatever is because the ones that do get smacked down by governments. Facebook tried and it got smacked down because the only thing worse than publicly administered money is privately administered money.
No, you're missing the point. Okay, so you're kind of dissing Facebook Libra there, right? Like you're basically saying that like the only thing worse than government administered money is privately, corporately administered money, right? That was what you said?
Sure.
So Facebook Libra, first of all, I'm not going to dispute you that it's probably not the best semi-decentralized payment system, but it's a semi-decentralized payment system. That's what it is. It's not a private payment system. I mean,
Sure. There's no single point of truth, whatever. It's but
yeah,
the point is it's still a network, and the network still has influence.
So it was okay. So Libra was hilarious for many reasons. And it was obvious. The sad thing about Libra, what really made me sad, especially as somebody who like is a huge fan of Facebook. I mean, I literally spent 2.5 years writing a book about the company. It's a referendum on how people see Facebook. If you look at this case study, it's basically a referendum on how poorly Facebook is regarded by the general business community. Because what happened is they did this consortium thing. Do you remember this? Like they did this like consortium
with like Visa and all these other companies.
It was like Visa it's like the most random coterie of high profile companies. It's like very random coterie. It was Andreessen Horowitz, who you're Andreessen Horowitz portfolio company, right? Okay, so it's like Andreessen Horowitz, Stripe, PayPal, Visa, like whatever. It's like the cabal, right? It was a cabal, clearly, like Goldman Sachs or something. Just like cabal of people who are going to oversee the financial system. Actually, it's a great idea. but it's like it's the messaging is so like blatantly like, hey, we're Facebook. We're just allocating power. Like, what do you guys have a problem with this? Like, what's the big deal? And then it's like obviously, like the messaging is just like, seriously, like, and so everybody just immediately is like, okay, this is the stupidest thing ever. Why would we put the monetary system in control of the Facebook ordained cabal of financial arbitration? Like, what? We're doing that? And then so Stripe pulled out, right? Didn't Stripe pull out within weeks of this announcement? And it was
a rush to the exits pretty fast. Yeah.
It was like, okay, so the best company in the world pulls out of the Facebook ordained financial system. Like, or was that just like Stripe's like straight up dagger into Facebook? Or
I mean, what the cryptocurrency people don't seem to understand. I think I had this like, it like dawned on me one day that like all the things as a software engineer about like open source project governance and like all the soft power of who decides like what, the community, but what forks get merged. And is it Linus and Guido van Rossum versus the open source, whatever, like everything about the politics of an open source project globally and how it's used and how it's developed and what the roadmap is like the underlying cryptocurrencies themselves might be decentralized, right? It's not like one bank controls the master ledger of anything, but there's still what they do is it takes everything about open source project governance and it kind of treats it like the Federal Reserve, right? So like there's a ton of soft power in being like, the Linus Torvalds of Ethereum, right? Obviously like the Vitalik guy or whatever does that. But my point is it's just because something I'm not a cryptocurrency person.
Vitalik Buterin?
I don't know these people. I just
the Vitalik guy.
I didn't claim to be an expert. You brought up this topic. But my point is, like just because something is decentralized does not mean you want whoever controls it to control it. And like, and in that case, Facebook is literally the financial, the Federal Reserve of Libra or whatever. And I like the Federal Reserve because it's, created by Congress and which is, a representative, thing that I can influence and vote for and stuff. So like my monetary system, I like wrapped up with my political system. And just because something's on the internet and just because something doesn't literally have a master ledger does not mean it's free or just.
Hold on. Okay. You don't want one financial system, man. Like you want a multitude of financial systems. Like this whole dude, how many
I'm an American. I like one.
How many operating systems do you have in your life?
I mean, a couple, but besides having the word system in them, why is that relevant?
How many? No, bear with me. How many operating systems do you have in your life?
I mean, so there's Android, Linux. So there's Linux, Darwin, BSD, whatever, and like, the whatever Windows, like 64-bit kernel. So it depends how you draw an operating system. But
how many different Linux distributions are involved in your life?
I mean, everything runs Linux. And how many, Amazon devices do I own that are currently running some random Linux kernel? So yes, dozens.
And what is the cardinality of random Linux kernels that are running those various systems?
As in, they're probably all on different kernels. Like they're like, is in kernel versions? Like how many Linux kernel versions?
Well, I would actually take the like unique product fingerprint of operating system cross hardware that it's running on. So that would be my like unique fingerprint. Anyway, where I'm driving with this is you have a multitude of operating systems and then hardware sets and firmware sets and whatever sets that you run on in your life. So like the same is going to happen with payments, right? You're going to have a multitude of payment systems, right? That's this company that we're starting called Rectangle. It's basically Linux for payments. By the way, the round is not closed yet. We're still trying to wrap up this round. It's ridiculous how long this is taking, but we're doing Linux for payments because you want like different embedded payment systems, right? You want a multitude of embedded payment systems.
As in, do you mean the actual like underlying currency ledger, or do you mean like, like
so you basically
need software or what?
You basically need a Zapier. You need open source Zapier for money. So take the simple use case. I swipe a credit card, or no, more realistically, I'm a merchant. I want to accept fiat. my customer has crypto. Okay. So like you come to my open source decentralized Shopify clone where I sell hats. I'm a normal guy, right? I just sell normal hats. They just say software engineering daily on them. You're a crazy, weird security enthusiast who likes crypto. You only have crypto. You need to pay with crypto. I want to accept fiat. The middleware there is a rectangle kite. It's like a basically like a Zapier Zap kind of thing. We have kites. So like the conversion module, we produce conversion modules. They're open source. We host them, but they're open source. We also tell you how to host them. But basically there's all these Zapier Zaps for money or conversion modules. That's what we do.
And then who takes the actual financial transaction risk of converting the currencies? And
We do.
you know,
We do.
okay.
And we price that in. So like we're not cheap, right? Like we're kind of terrible. We're kind of like a terrible, expensive service. We're like Stripe, but more expensive, basically.
That's a good one. Cool. Yeah. I mean,
We're like Square, but we're a rectangle.
I got it. Like a slightly less constrained square, rhombus, even some form of quadrilateral. Parallelograms and trapezoids are also involved.
So we're the founding member of the Quadrangle Consortium, which is a division of the Shapes Consortium.
Is this becoming like a object-oriented programming lesson at some point?
No, it's more like a shapes-oriented proclamation.
I see. I'm down. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just I'm an American and I like dollars because dollars are how the U.S. projects power.